Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So we've got the 2022 Epiphone Les Paul Custom in Alpine White. We've got multi-layer binding. The outside is cream, single layer binding across the neck, and multi on the headstock. Also the outside being all cream. And of course we do have multi-layer binding on the back with the outside as well being cream. And we have a cream colored knob on here. They do need to make some corrections on the website though, because they also have this listed with being Grover tuners, and they look like Grovers, but they're actually in fact Wilkinson tuners. So yeah, they need to update the website a little bit. Anyways, Gibson month this month at Long and McQuaid all across the country. So they've got like 100 stores, so pick one. Shop online if you want. Up to 3 years worth of payments. You can also get the extended performance warranty as well, which I highly recommend because if anything happens that would be covered under the performance warranty, it will be above and beyond what the manufacturer covers too, which is nice, including just natural wear and tear on your frets. And believe me, I've had to claim that once on a Taylor because I wore the frets out within 2 years on one of my Taylors, and it had to get fixed, and that was completely covered. So it was a good thing having that extended warranty coverage on there, because Taylor themselves will not cover natural wear and tear. Pretty much nobody does, but Long and McQuaid will with their extended warranty. So hey, it's worth it. Do you have any idea what a fret job costs these days? That's a lot of money you save for the minuscule amount you put out every year to renew. So I did get 2 guitars this year. I got this and the Junior, both with 3-year extended warranties on them, blah blah blah. It's costing me just shy of 80 bucks a month for both of them for 3 years, so that's a lot of money worth of guitars. And this one here normally sells for $1,059, and during the Gibson month deal it's on for $999, which is great. I saved like 60 bucks there, which, hey, 60 bucks savings works out pretty good. I did get Elixir OptiWeb coated strings for both guitars. And they do both have new strings on them, so we may have to do some retuning. Even though I've stretched the strings a few times each, it still needs a little bit more stretch in, and so we will have a much better demo type of video for you guys next weekend, where we can also have the ability to crank this thing up really loud in here too, which will be really awesome. Anyways, we have Pro Bucker 2 in the neck, Pro Bucker 3 in the bridge. Your typical 4 controls, 2 volume, 2 tone. No coil tapping or splitting of these pickups, so I love that part, because I'm really not a fan of that system, even though it could be kind of handy, I guess. But if you have a Tele or a Strat, they have single coils anyways for traditional models, and I have a Tele, so hey, I also have the single P90 Junior, so yeah, I'm kind of glad this is just straight out humbucker only. Slim taper 60s neck profile, so much easier and better feeling for string bending over the 50s neck that's sitting on my Junior, which is a little harder to bend strings with a baseball neck than it is with a slim neck. Now, the entire body, the neck, all of it is all mahogany. There's no maple cap on this thing. It's all mahogany on even the top. So that's also beneficial bonus right there. Gold hardware throughout, except of course we have a bit of plastic like our speed knobs, our pick guard, pickup rings, and of course we have the poker chip here that is also plastic. I'm kind of debating right now if I want to change the poker chip or not, because when I was putting on my Shaler strap locks, now I will say this too, white is probably the worst color you ever want to use on anything, because it's more brittle than any other paint color in the palettes. So I don't know why, it just is. But I did get a little bit of chipping when I took out the old ones. There was a little chip here, like a little minor one, but it's kind of like, alright, so let's put the new ones in for the Shalers, because I want strapped locks that really lock secure, and I fully support the Shalers, okay? They are fantastic, and these particular ones, these are a newer model that no longer has the actual nut. It's like a big huge nut that's knurled, and you will need a little skinny Allen key to go in between those 2 holes to crank her down nice and tight, and then there's a locking screw uses a flat bladed jeweler screwdriver, and you lock it against the thread and it's not going to move. So yeah, you are 100% like perfect security with these particular strap locks. And like I said, I do recommend them, especially for heavy guitars, whether it's a Les Paul or not. If it's a heavy guitar, you're going to want strap locks because, yeah, anything can happen. And anyways, I really am liking the guitar. It's the paint chipping that kind of bugged me even on the way in. The threads are a little bit bigger on the Shailers, which is fine. You get a little bit new bite in there, right? But it did chip a little bit. Now, nothing that is visible of missing paint, but there is a little bit of a bubble up edge on this side and a little tiny bit over here, but nothing that shows through that the paint actually is chipped out. But like I said, white is a really bad color for a no color that actually is more brittle than any other of the rainbows. So that's something that you got to know about, right? And I kind of figured that would happen. Now it is also gloss finish, which is polycoat. It's not nitro finish on this, so it's not going to age and crack apart like a crazy weird spider pattern or anything on you with age. It's not going to yellow. It's always going to stay nice and beautiful white as long as you keep polishing your guitar like you should. And yeah, so fantastic. Loving the Wilkinsons though. They look just like the Grovers, and it's like, it's kind of deceiving until you actually read the name and it actually says Wilkinson. And it's like, okay, whatever. Handcrafted in China as well. Who cares where it's made as long as it's made properly, which I've never had a bad Chinese or Indonesian guitar yet when it comes to Epiphones or Fender Squiers, etc. Those guitars have always been fine. I've had a few really super cheap Chinese guitars that kind of really sucked a little bit, but when it comes to the more well-known name brands, house brands like Epiphone, etc., they've been really good and I've had no issues. And tuning stability, although it's not going to be the greatest till these strings get stretched in, Epiphones will stay in tune better than Gibsons do. And I know because I had a Gibson for almost 5 years, and believe me, the only way to keep that thing to stay in tune properly was a string butler. Just because the expense would have been out of my pocket to fix Gibson's screw up, and yeah, forget it. I just kind of left that nut alone and I didn't even bother with it. So string butler it is. And a lot of Gibsons are like that. Very few Gibsons leave the factory with a properly cut nut. But every Epiphone I've ever owned or played on, whether it's an acoustic or an electric, doesn't matter. I've never seen one with a badly or poorly cut nut, and they've always had great tuning stability. Also, the strings are in a lot closer here on D and G on Epiphone guitars, where they're much further apart on Gibsons, which creates more binding issue problems and of course tuning stability. Anyways, moving along, we are into the Blackstar HT5. This is our clean. Like I said, I'm just banging out chords today. Middle position. And you do get an awful lot of range out of these pots too, which is another nice benefit. On the neck, you can clean that up a bit by just adjusting your volume on that particular pickup and it'll clean up rather nicely. Anyways, let's try an acoustic simulator. So I'm going to just switch between so you can hear the difference. Clean first. Let's go on the bridge though. effortless for doing bar chords. Lovely. Very low action. I love the slim necks on any guitar. I have a 50s fat neck on the Junior, and bending strings is a real pain on a fat neck. So much nicer on the slim neck, and they have the same radius too of 12" on both guitars, and it's like, you know, it's like whatever, it is what it is, right? But I've always been a fan of slim necks, really love them. Okay, a little bit of overdrive. Cool. The overdrive, it's an East River drive. It's probably one of the best overdrive pedals I've had yet, and I've owned a lot of pedals over the years, and that's a really nice overdrive. Okay, so we have the TC Electronic Fangs, what do they call this? Metal distortion. Not bad. Okay, next weekend though, by the time the strings have stretched in a little bit more, I'll stretch them out a few more times. It's definitely going to stay better because I'm pretty sure we knocked that out a little bit. They are brand new strings, and you guys should know by now, brand new strings suck for at least a week. Yeah, G went down a bit. I've always had great tuning stability with Epiphones. They've always been fantastic. But those brand new strings are always a nightmare for about a week. Something went out again. G's up a little bit. It's actually up a little. Brand new strings, guys. Brand new strings. That's in. So the intonation's set up well. So the only real complaints I have about this thing is that little paint chipping thing. That kind of scared me because I thought, oh, if that chips too far, man, it's going to look ugly, but I got lucky. So, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, white is a color that you really got to watch on any guitar. It can chip rather easy compared to any other color, so that's something to be aware of. But other than that, no real complaints. The Wilkinson's unexpected, but quite welcome. I've had Wilkinson tuners of vintage styles, and they always worked fine, so I have no issues with Wilkinson tuners. I don't really have much of anything to mod on this thing as far as Goldilocksing goes. I might even leave it just the way it is, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind it with the black that is there. And being that I don't have push-pull pots, I don't have to worry about speed knobs popping off on me like I did on other guitars that had them. So I just kind of bought locking gold knobs. But I mean, I'm sure adding more gold could be a little overkill. But it is just fine the way it is too. So I'm right now, honestly, I'm kind of on the fence of, do I want to add some more gold or not? But one of the things that does scare the heck out of me is the poker chip, because that has a sticker underneath it where it's got an adhesive on there, and I'm not sure how well that's going to peel off. And if it doesn't go friendly, it's going to cause a lot of paint damage, and that's something that I don't want to go through. So I might just kind of like leave it alone. You know what I mean? It's either that or do the hairdryer trick, which would probably peel it off quite easily without hurting the paint. I don't know. We'll see. But I do have a poker chip here that's gold if I need it. But I don't know what I'm going to do as far as, you know, if I'm going to change things or not to get rid of some other parts that are black. But I think it does complement rather well, especially considering the headstock is also black. It's an ebony fretboard too, which is nice. By the way, the fretboard was dry. So when you buy a brand new guitar that has, it doesn't matter the brand, that has any kind of an actual real wood to it, like ebony for example, or rosewood, these do need to be oiled, apparently. I never used to oil fretboards. I've only started doing that since I carried performance warranties, because I told them, I said, you know, this is what I've heard, this is what I've been through once. Because of oiling a fretboard, I did have some frets pop once from just because I oiled the fretboard. And would you still cover it? And it's like, yeah, and it was like, great. So I started using fretboard oil ever since. So usually once a year, put a bit of fretboard oil on when I change a set of strings at one point, and I'll oil the fretboard usually once a year, sometimes even twice, depending if it's looking drier. Because I don't leave the oil soak in. I just get it on there, slather it on, let it sit for about 2 minutes, and then I rub it right in really good and get it off there, and that's as far as the extent goes. And I've not had any issues. So, but apparently it is a good idea to oil them, because the wood can actually crack if it gets overly dried up. And the fretboard on this was rather dry, so good idea to oil the fretboard new. So put a new set of strings on, whatever. Optiplex strings, fantastic by the way. Ever since I tried them on my actual real Gibson Les Paul that I had, those things are awesome. So I got a set for this and a set for the Junior. I won't have to change these strings for probably about a year or two easily, because even my Elixir Nano Webs on my acoustics, I only change them like usually once a year. They just last and last. But the playability on this is really nice. The action's nice and low. I like that too. Absolutely no fret issues at all anywhere on this thing. It's great. A little bit of roughness on the top edges. Nothing to be concerned about. It's not going to cut you or slice you open. But there is a little bit of roughness. But some 5000 grit sandpaper, just going over the top edges on a bit of an angle, would take care of that. But it's kind of your thing if you want to or not. I mean, if something like that, you notice that on your fretboard when you buy your guitar, if you do notice a little bit of roughness, considering it is a bound fretboard, it shouldn't be. But sprout can still happen either way, because frets don't shrink, but wood does. So you might want to let the guitar acclimate for a month or two first before thinking about it. And that's the thing where I'm at right now, is this thing has to acclimate to my humidity in the house. This has spent its life in a cardboard box since, you know, February of 2022 when they built the thing. So yeah, who knows where it's been or what kind of atmosphere it's been used to. So I got to give the neck a little bit of time, and maybe that's all it is. And if it's still there within probably 2 months, then I might just smooth out the tops and make them smooth as butter and never have to worry about it again. Who knows? But I'll put this thing at a 4.5 out of 5. It isn't perfect, and the white paint thing is something you might want to be concerned about, so be very careful if you do buy a white guitar of any brand. White is white no matter what, okay? It is brittler than any other color, so be careful taking out anything that it's screwed to, like the strap pins. If you're going to change to a different type of a locking type strap pin, just be aware of that. Be very careful and slow taking them out, and same as putting the new ones in, and make sure you have that felt there as well, because if you don't have the felt, you will wreck the finish. Okay, so you do need that felt there. It's there to protect the paint. But for $1,000, under $1,000 actually, $999.00. Fantastic buy. This is Canadian dollars. Keep that in mind. It's Canadian. I like it. I really do. I looked at the Gibson counterpart to this, and I nearly had a heart attack at the price. So, I'm kind of thinking, well, Epiphones. I actually got 2 for the price of 1, basically, compared to a Gibson I could have bought, right? I don't think I could have gotten the white Gibson. I'll have to look at the website again. The ProBuckers are nice. The other thing I'd advise too, and then we're out of here, the nuts. Anytime you have nuts and washers, brand new guitar, and maybe twice a year, check them. Make sure that they're just snug, because they will work loose over time. Heat and humidity, wood shrinks and grows. And right now is a time period where you need to snug them up a little bit, because if the washers do get a little bit loose, it'll put some buzzing through that'll drive you mental, and you won't know where it's coming from. It's likely coming from the nut and washer being a little bit on the loose side, so make sure they are snugged up. These were fairly snug, but I checked them anyways just to make sure, and I just gave them each a little tiny tweak, and that's all it takes. Don't go reefing on them or you'll split your headstock apart. So anyway, that's about it. So we'll come back next weekend with some new videos with the 2 new guitars. We'll crank things up, we'll put them in a mix, and we'll see what it's like there, and we'll actually play something probably more to other people's palates than just banging out chords. Alright, so until then, thanks, and catch you on the next one. See ya.